Oh dear. That was another sad episode of the communists.
The insurgency has become a war of terror.
Terrorism is a form of political communication. The real intended recipient of the act of terror is not the victim. The victim is secondary. It's unfortunate victim, but it's secondary. The real audience is all of us watching. Because the terrorists, regardless of his ideological stripe, whether it's today's kind of new religiously motivated terrorists or the communist terrorists of the past, the aim is always to send a powerful message, a message of fear, of intimidation, that if you do not cooperate with us, this is what will happen to you.
As this campaign of terror escalates, the British look for a way to tackle the Minh Yun. But there's a big problem. They are secretive, faceless. So a new plan is hatched to create a national register of Malayans. Now, every man, woman and child over 12 must possess an identity card with a photograph and thumbprint. Anyone without an identity card, an IC, is instantly suspect.
National registration policy was actually very good psychological warfare, because it really made the communists worried. They wanted to remain incognito. They didn't want to be identified. But if you didn't go out and get identified, then people immediately start suspecting you. So it was a really smart move.
Teams of civil servants and photographers spread out across Malaya, armed with cameras and fingerprint pads. It soon proves to be a hazardous job.
It was quite a dangerous job, because all photographers who take pictures of these civilians and so on, many were taken away by the communists in the dead of the night. They were tortured and then left dead.
For the communists, registration poses a threat to their secretive war, so they fight back. Their aim, to sabotage the registration campaign.
他出登记卡呢，他就妨碍很大。没有登记卡，我们自由啊。他不懂得哪一个马工，他出来登记卡呢，没有的他就可以抓你。将他手马工呢，他就实行没收，到处乡村去把他登记卡没收掉。
A favorite communist tactic is to target the buses.
They used to stop the buses, collect all the ICs and burn them. You see. And then they see those who are suspected government helpers, they'll get them out of the bus and take them into the jungle and murder them.
In September 1948, as the violence escalates, the British government finally appoint a new High Commissioner, another veteran of Palestine, Sir Henry Gurney. As he takes up his post at King's House in Kuala Lumpur, Gurney faces a seemingly unwinnable war against a ruthless and determined foe. The Malayan people are demoralized and afraid. It's high time for a radical new approach to crush Chin Peng's campaign of terror. Malaya, October 1948. The new British High Commissioner, Sir Henry Gurney, has arrived to find a war on terror that is close to defeat. In 6 months, the communists have launched 1,274 attacks and killed more than 300 innocent civilians. As soon as he digests this desperate state of affairs, Gurney turns to London and demands reinforcements to fight the communists. To back up the Malay regiment, Gurkhas from Nepal, as well as troops from East Africa, Fiji, Australia and New Zealand arrive in Malaya. Gurney soon spots another so far unexploited human resource, the local Chinese. Many are hostile to communism and horrified by Chin Peng's brutal tactics. To get the Chinese on board, Gurney turns for help to the respected Tan Cheng Lok, the president of the Malayan Chinese Association, which is anti-communist.
It is incumbent upon us, the Chinese community, to rally round the government and give our energetic support to make a success of this mobilization.
One of the first to answer Tan Cheng Lok's call is a young man called Yun Yuet Leng.
I was training with British soldiers, British police officers, who were all big-sized. And I'm so short and thin. And every morning we used to do physical training, throwing logs from one shoulder to the other shoulder. And my God, being the shortest there, the weight comes on you. I almost died, but I survived.
Yun also trained alongside Malay and Indian recruits.
See, that's how the comradeship was built up, because of the threat of common danger. When the shooting starts, you don't care what race you are. No? You find that your friend is pinned down by heavy fire, and you're okay, you've got a good defensive position. You open fire so that you can crawl somewhere else. And he does the same thing for you. So you save each other.
Soon, Yun will come face to face with the communist guerrillas. More than 90% are Chinese, like him.
So when the emergency started, the British knew that they couldn't deal with the problem, which is essentially Chinese, unless they brought in more Chinese. That's how suddenly there was an influx of a lot of Chinese.
In the meantime, High Commissioner Gurney receives disturbing reports from the central Malayan state of Pahang. A new communist unit known as the 10th Regiment, consisting mainly of Malays, is terrorizing the kampongs of Pahang. No one is safe, not even children. Hamidin Abdullah remembers these frightening times well, and what happened when his friend revealed the whereabouts of a Malay communist sympathizer.
He was about 12 plus. He was showing the house or the whereabouts of someone who was communist sympathizer, you know. But just for that, they blasted his head off.
The shooting of a 12-year-old is only the beginning. Soon afterwards, Hamidin's father is kidnapped.
For 6 months after his disappearance, my father's grave was found. That's how cheap life was to some people.
Kita tak kira. Asalkan hanya buruan penjajah, kita hentam saja. Sekejap menyungkuh dia kena pedih.
The 10th Regiment is not only ruthless, it is a threat to Malay loyalty. For its commander is not Chinese, but a Malay communist called Abdullah CD. Chin Peng has tasked him to recruit fellow Malays to his cause.
Jadi kita nak membesarkan pasukan kita. Nak membesarkan, nak keramai ke anggota, nak banyak senjata.
If Malays start joining the insurgency, the possible consequences are terrifying. So the British must somehow stop the communist virus spreading. A solution is at hand. During the war, the British anti-Japanese Force 136 recruited a dynamic Malay fighter called Yuk Mahidin. He proved himself a formidable jungle warrior. Now, the British dispatch Mahidin to central Pahang to eliminate the threat of the 10th Regiment.
British hantar Yuk Mahidin memimpin satu regimen di Terengganu untuk mengalahkan komunis Melayu.
Leading a band of dedicated and highly trained jungle fighters, Mahidin routs the 10th Regiment, and Abdullah CD flees into exile. The threat to Malay loyalty is neutralized. It's a tremendous victory for Mahidin, who is appointed the deputy head of a new Home Guard unit that eventually numbers 350,000 men and women. But still, Chin Peng's communist guerrillas keep up their relentless onslaught. 80 terrorists strike Simpang Tiga, near Ipoh. They burn the entire village. 1,000 villagers are made homeless. 2 weeks later, communist insurgents target a police station in Bukit Kepong. The heroic siege that follows will become a legend of the war. The attack starts before dawn as 180 communists surround the station.